Boston didn't stay quiet for long. For weeks, it felt like the Celtics were stuck in pause mode. No noise, no movement, just vague speculation and a roster full of question marks. But then, almost like he was responding to the silence, Brad Stevens stepped in and flipped the offseason on its head, like someone who was just waiting for the right moment to pull the pin and blow things up. And that's exactly what's happening. Boston isn't just tweaking around the edges. They're not smoothing out the roster. They're rebuilding the entire machine, piece by piece, and it's all happening fast. First came the move that no one really saw coming. Not because it was headline-worthy, but because it said a lot without saying anything at all. Georges Niang. Remember him? If you blink this summer, you probably missed his Celtics stint entirely. He was here for 43 days. Never played a single minute. Just long enough to show face at Summer League, hang out with Luka Garza and a couple of the new guys, and maybe get a few Celtics hoodies. But now he's gone, off to Utah, back to a place he actually knows well. And this is where it starts to get interesting. Because at first glance, the Niang trade looks like your classic throwaway deal. A minor shuffle, but the context around it, that tells a bigger story. The Celtics sent Niang and 2 future second-round picks to the Jazz in exchange for rookie R.J. Luis Jr. from St. John's, a 22-year-old on a 2-way contract who, realistically, won't see a single minute in Boston this season. He'll be up in Maine, grinding with the G League squad. So why make the move? That's the million-dollar, or in this case, multi-million-dollar, question. Because on paper, R.J. Luis isn't a guy the Celtics were targeting in the draft. He wasn't on anyone's radar as a high-value prospect. This wasn't about upside. This wasn't about need. This was about money. This was about cutting salary, creating space, and maneuvering under the new collective bargaining rules that have every front office walking a financial tightrope. But here's the ripple effect. That 2-way contract means R.J. Luis doesn't take up a main roster spot, which means the Celtics, already short a player, just got even thinner. They went from 14 down to 13 on the active roster. Now remember, NBA teams can carry 15 guys, but Boston has consistently rolled into training camp with 1 spot open. It's kind of their thing. Leave flexibility for a late addition or a potential in-season move. But this time, that missing spot feels different. It feels strategic, because alongside Luis, there's another name floating in limbo, Amari Williams. Drafted in the 2nd round, and now, possibly left without a home. See, the Celtics have already handed out all 3 of their 2-way slots. 1 to R.J. Luis, 1 to Max Struega, 1 to Miles Norris. That's it. So unless they plan to clear one of those contracts, or unless Williams somehow cracks the main roster, he's looking at the possibility of being shipped elsewhere or cut loose entirely. And that's where the head-scratching starts. Why would Boston trade out of prime second-round positions? Players like Ryan Kalkbrenner or Maximilian Reinhart were still on the board, guys with real center potential, just to end up without one of them on the roster. It feels like they either had a plan and changed it mid-flight, or they're gambling on something we haven't seen yet. But let's circle back to the picks, because this is where things start to pile up. The Celtics are burning through second-rounders like they're candy at Halloween. 2 more gone in this deal. And when you zoom out, the stockpile isn't as deep as it used to be. Boston had 7 second-round picks spanning from 2026 to 2033, but after sending 2 to Utah, they're down to 5. And keep in mind, a couple of those are from pick swaps, so they might not even be favorable. And this entire flurry of moves, it's not about building a contender this season. Not yet. It's about flexibility, about reducing the tax bill, about hitting that magic number that unlocks a more manageable cap future. Just to give you some perspective, back in June, the Celtics were staring at a projected salary and tax bill north of $540 million. Yes, you heard that right. Over $500 million. Fast forward a few weeks, and that number has been slashed by more than $300 million. That's not trimming. That's hacking. That's taking a buzzsaw to the roster and saying, we're resetting without calling it a rebuild. But man, this roster is thin. Like real thin. The kind of thin where Georges Niang, yes, the same Niang who just got traded, was actually projected to be the starting power forward before this move. And now, there's literally nobody at the 4. Nobody. Boston has centers, sure, but true power forwards? Gone. Disappeared. Which brings us to the second domino to fall. Enter Chris Boucher. Now this was a little different. Still a salary-conscious move, still on the cheap. He came in on a veteran minimum, around 3.2 or 3.3 million, but Boucher actually fills a real hole. He's 32, spent most of his career in Toronto, won a ring there, and has played meaningful minutes in playoff settings. He's not flashy. He's not a star, but he does a bit of everything. Stretch the floor, block shots, grab boards, and eat up minutes. And honestly, he might be the starting four from day one. Think about that. A vet minimum guy, cast off from a Raptors team that was tanking most of last season, could walk into Boston and start opening night. That's where the roster's at. Now, to his credit, Boucher brings some versatility. Last season, he only averaged around 10 points and 4 rebounds, but his role was limited. Toronto was a mess, resting starters, rotating lineups, inconsistent usage, and Boucher still managed to shoot 36% from three. Not amazing, but not terrible either, especially for a guy who's going to be left wide open while Jaylen Brown and Derek White do most of the work on offense. Defensively, he can protect the rim, he can switch a bit, and he gives them something they desperately lack: length. But even with Boucher in the mix, Boston's depth is shallow. We're talking puddle deep. As of right now, the projected starting five is looking like Derek White, Anthony Simons, Jaylen Brown, Chris Boucher, and Neemias Queta. That's it. That's your group. And behind them, a bunch of guys on partial guarantees, summer league standouts, and question marks. Guys like Hugo Gonzalez, Baylor Shireman, Jordan Walsh, Xavier Tillman, Luka Garza. It's a grab bag of potential and maybe. And here's the kicker. Boston is still carrying a payroll of nearly $200 million. But with the tax threshold at 187 and the first apron at 195, they're within striking distance of dropping below both. They're only $4 million over the apron and 12 over the tax. One more move, and they're clear. One more trade, one more salary dump, and suddenly this team has all the breathing room they need for next season. And that's the point, right? This isn't about competing in 2025. This is about 26 and 27. This is about the return of Jason Tatum, a clean cap sheet, and enough assets to swing for the fences next summer. It's about delaying the window, not closing it. So, when you hear the chatter about Ben Simmons or Bam Adebayo, you got to ask yourself, are those real targets now? Or just setups for September, when Simons becomes trade eligible and the Celtics can finally aggregate his contract in a bigger deal? And when I say Brad isn't done, I mean it in the most literal sense possible. Because if you actually look at the numbers, at the maneuvering, at how aggressive the Celtics have been with cutting cost, clearing cap, and staying just beneath the most punishing thresholds of the new CBA, it all screams one thing. A move is coming. Not a small one either. Not another vet minimum pickup to fill out the end of the bench. I'm talking about something real, something meaningful, something that resets the clock and sets the table for the post-Tatum recovery era. Because let's face it, if this season were really about winning, Boston would not be walking into training camp with a starting lineup that looks more like a second unit on a rebuilding team. You don't go into a year without Jason Tatum and still pretend you're chasing banners. The roster doesn't lie. Neither do the contracts. And right now, this squad isn't built to win games. It's built to tread water, develop young pieces, give your veterans light workloads, and stay just competitive enough to keep the locker room from imploding. That's where a guy like Anthony Simons becomes so fascinating. Because he's good. Let's not pretend otherwise. He's a dynamic scorer, has shown flashes of star-level shot creation, and still has room to grow. But is he a fit for Boston's long-term identity? Not really. Not with Tatum and Brown as your two cornerstones. Simons is best with the ball in his hands. He's not a glue guy. He's not a low-usage defender. He's an alpha-type scorer trying to carve out space in a system that already has its hierarchy set. That makes him, more than likely, a trade chip. And here's the thing. He can't be moved in a package deal until September 7th. That's the key date. That's when the restrictions on aggregated trades for recently acquired players are lifted. And guess who else becomes movable around that time? Players like Bam Adebayo. That might sound wild, maybe even delusional, but if you've been following the league for any amount of time, you know that no team is ever as stable as they seem in July. Miami has their own contract headaches to deal with. Tyler Herro is extension eligible this October. Jimmy Butler is nearing his final prime years. And Pat Riley has never been the type to overpay to keep the band together. There are rumblings already, rumors that teams are monitoring Herro's situation closely, watching how Miami navigates the next few months. And if Herro's not extended, if Miami starts sliding down the standings, don't be shocked if Bam's name starts surfacing in talks. Brad Stevens is a lot of things, but subtle is not one of them. Every dollar he's shaved off the Celtics cap sheet has been with a bigger picture in mind. Not just to save money, not just to dodge the tax, but to be ready when opportunity knocks. And that opportunity might be a big man, a real one, a long-term defensive anchor who can play beside Tatum and Brown and change the identity of the team. But even if it's not Bam, even if it's not someone of that caliber, the logic still holds. The Celtics didn't go through all this restructuring just to hover around mediocrity. That's the trap that gets coaches fired and superstars unhappy. Instead, Boston is playing a long game. They're taking a season off the treadmill, letting Tatum rest, keeping Derek White and Jaylen Brown from overextending themselves, developing guys like Baylor Shireman, Hugo Gonzalez, and Jordan Walsh, seeing what Luka Garza and Xavier Tillman can give you in real minutes. Maybe you find a role player. Maybe you build some trade value. Maybe you lose a lot of games and end up with a lottery pick. All of those outcomes are acceptable when you're not pretending to contend. And that's the hardest part for fans, right? Because this isn't the kind of rebuild we're used to. It's not a full teardown. It's not a youth movement. It's not a trust the process type of deal. It's something more nuanced. A surgical financial restructuring that lets the Celtics stay competitive in spirit, even if not in the standings. It's the front office saying, we're not going to waste our assets on a season where our best player isn't even playing. So what does that mean for the guys who are still here? Well, for starters, expect Jaylen Brown to carry the torch. This is his team now, whether he wants it or not. He's the highest paid player, the longest tenured star, and the one whose leadership will be tested most. Does he coast? Does he ball out and show he can be the number one option? Or does he simply do enough to keep the engine warm until Tatum returns? Because let's be honest, Jaylen's not playing 82 games. Probably not even 70. He'll do what's required, and maybe that's enough. Same goes for Derek White. He's going to be the stabilizer, the adult in the room, the guy who shows up every night and keeps the floor from falling out. But even he's not logging 40-minute nights every week. This season isn't about maximizing anyone's individual numbers. It's about survival, development, and most of all, staying flexible. That brings us back to the bench, because this is where the chaos really lives. Let's just hope that next big move brings the Celtics back to where they're supposed to be. Because as it stands right now, this team isn't scaring anyone. Not in the East. Not anywhere. And maybe that's the point. Maybe Boston wants to play the long game. But they better make sure that when the moment comes, they're ready to go all in. Because windows don't stay open forever. But before we continue, please remember to subscribe to the channel and give the video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest news about the Boston Celtics. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. The NBA offseason is heating up, and rumors surrounding the Boston Celtics have taken center stage in the sports world. The Celtics, a franchise renowned for its storied history and recent resurgence, appear to be quietly but decisively moving to maintain their competitive edge in an increasingly tough Eastern Conference. Whispers within league circles suggest that Boston's front office is actively exploring multiple avenues to bolster their roster, driven by the imperative to not only keep pace with rivals like the Milwaukee Bucks and Miami Heat, but also to position themselves as legitimate title contenders in the coming seasons. The Celtics management reportedly understands that while their core group of players has been strong, the evolving dynamics of the league demand fresh talent and strategic acquisitions. Speculation abounds that Boston is in talks with several teams regarding potential trades that could bring in high-impact players, while also possibly looking at free agent signings to add depth and versatility. This proactive approach signals a shift from previous off-seasons, where the Celtics were more conservative in the market. The current buzz points toward a more aggressive stance, one that could redefine the Celtics' trajectory and impact the balance of power in the NBA's Eastern Conference. Adding fuel to the swirling rumors is the stunning announcement regarding Nikola Jokic, whose name has recently been linked to trade discussions involving Boston. The Denver Nuggets superstar center, known for his unparalleled skill set and basketball IQ, has long been a subject of speculation due to Denver's strategic recalibrations. Though no official confirmation has been made by either franchise, insiders hint at a potential blockbuster deal that could send shockwaves through the league. The idea of Jokic donning a Celtics jersey has ignited conversations among analysts and fans alike, given how his unique style as a versatile big man could transform Boston's offensive and defensive schemes. This possibility, however remote it might currently be, exemplifies the kind of bold moves the Celtics front office is reportedly contemplating. Jokic's ability to score, pass, and rebound at an elite level would arguably provide Boston with a much-needed centerpiece to complement their existing talent, while simultaneously elevating their championship aspirations. As the rumor mill churns, the intrigue surrounding this potential acquisition continues to grow, making it one of the most talked-about scenarios in the NBA offseason narrative. The Celtics' motivation to remain at the forefront of competition is palpable in the context of the Eastern Conference's ongoing evolution. Teams like the Milwaukee Bucks, led by Giannis Antetokounmpo, and the Miami Heat, with their young core and savvy veterans, have forced Boston to reconsider its strategy to avoid stagnation. The potential arrival of a game-changing figure such as Jokic could be exactly what the Celtics need to offset these challengers and possibly establish a new dynasty. League insiders suggest that Boston's approach is multifaceted, involving not just player acquisitions, but also a reevaluation of coaching strategies, player development programs, and long-term planning. The Celtics' willingness to engage in high-stakes negotiations signals their recognition that the window for immediate success remains narrow, and the cost of inaction could be costly. This rumored urgency has created a palpable tension in trade discussions, with Boston reportedly ready to part with valuable assets to secure marquee talent. The prospect of such a trade reshaping the Celtics roster is stirring excitement and debate among fans and pundits, each speculating on how this would impact team chemistry and performance in the intense environment of playoff basketball. As the offseason progresses, the speculative landscape grows increasingly complex, with other potential trade targets and free agents entering the conversation. The Celtics front office appears to be meticulously weighing each option, balancing the desire for star power with the need to maintain a cohesive and adaptable roster. Observers note that while the acquisition of Nikola Jokic would be headline-grabbing, the Celtics may also be exploring complementary pieces, players who can provide defensive toughness, three-point shooting, or veteran leadership. This holistic approach reflects a modern understanding of team building, recognizing that championship contenders require more than just a single superstar. The ongoing chatter within the league suggests that Boston is poised to act decisively if the right opportunity arises, underscoring their commitment to aggressive roster management. Meanwhile, the Celtics' current players are reportedly aware of the shifting dynamics and are preparing for a season that could bring significant changes. This environment of uncertainty and possibility only adds to the intrigue, making Boston one of the most closely watched teams during this offseason. Fans and analysts alike eagerly await further developments, anticipating announcements that could reshape the NBA landscape. Ultimately, the whirlwind of rumors surrounding the Boston Celtics and Nikola Jokic epitomizes the unpredictable and exhilarating nature of NBA offseason maneuvers. The possibility that Boston could secure one of the league's most talented and versatile players reflects a front office intent on seizing every advantage to secure championship glory. Whether these rumors materialize into actual transactions remains to be seen, but the mere prospect has already injected a new level of excitement into the Celtics fan base and the wider basketball community. The Celtics' proactive stance and openness to bold moves contrast with more conservative teams, highlighting a strategic mindset focused on immediate impact without sacrificing future flexibility. This dynamic period of negotiation and speculation is a reminder that the NBA offseason is as much about intrigue and anticipation as it is about actual gameplay. As trade deadlines approach and free agency unfolds, the Celtics' actions will be scrutinized closely, with many hoping that these swirling rumors result in a transformative chapter for one of basketball's most iconic franchises. The coming weeks promise to be pivotal for Boston, potentially altering the course of their competitive future in dramatic fashion. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Boston Celtics, please subscribe to our channel and give the video a like. We always appreciate your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.